Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Cinderella phenomenon, Evermore. And we're continuing Claude/Karma. We're in chapter 2, and I'm not sure who's talking right now, so I'm just going to read it normal because we don't know who it is. So it's just voice. No matter what I do, I can never make a difference. He died because of me. It's all my fault. They have so much gold, and yet they won't spare a single coin. This is... If only I could be rid of him. All he does is take. The voices continue to pound inside my head like a trapped animal fighting its cage. I become aware that I'm in a dream, a nightmare. The moment I realize, I begin to stir. I attempt to wake myself up, but stop when I hear another voice at the edge of my consciousness. How could they miss me? It's not as if they haven't already replaced me. The voice is familiar, and for a few moments, it's the only echo I hear in my mind. Whose voice is this? I try to listen, but to no avail. The other voices soon press into my mind, making it impossible to hear anything else. I force myself awake. My heart's beating erratically in my chest, and my head is pounding. I feel faint, even though I've just woken up. I glance slowly around my room with sleepy eyes, searching for Claude, but he's not here. Ever since we became engaged, he's been sleeping in this room with me. Oh, hi. The king was against it at first. Even I couldn't help but be surprised by Claude's bold proposal. Yet, according to him, such a thing is tradition in Brigantia. Brigantia, sorry. Still, it took my father many months to agree. In the end, he only relented with a month remaining to the wedding, saying that he found it more acceptable. It's like, we're getting married, just let him sleep in my room, Dad. It's pleasant when I wake up and actually find him sleeping next to me, but I notice a small note on the bedside table and sigh. He has another morning meeting with my father, it seems. I put a hand to my forehead and close my eyes. And that nightmare. Ever since I became the Tenebrarum bearer 2 years ago. Tenebrarum bearer. Tenebrarum is hard to say. Bearer. Tenebrarum bearer. Like, wow. I've been having these nightmares. Parfait tells me that they become milder the more I learn to put them to the back of my mind. The voices usually aren't so terrible that they drag me under like that. The last time the voices were this loud, it was because I was surrounded by negativity from somewhere close by. Claude. About his brother. Or it could just be his brother. I sit up in bed and turn to look at the beast plush that lies just beside my pillow. That negativity isn't coming from Claude, right? If she thinks it, it's probably not. I'm uncertain whether or not it's the truth or my imagination, but even though he is, for the most part, his usual self, there are moments when he feels different. There are moments when his smile wavers and a tinge of melancholy comes into his eyes. The first time I saw it was when he gave me the beast plush. That was 6 days ago. I've asked Claude multiple times if something is amiss, and he always waves me off with a smile. I glance again around the room that we now share. Most of it's not changed, though Claude has added some things. Namely, a piano that sits in one corner. He insists on putting it into the room when he first moved in, and I had no qualms about it. Not when I know the playing calms him down. Besides, I don't mind watching him play. Sometimes when I'm in the mood, I play with him. Perhaps I should suggest playing together sometime later today. I stifle a sigh as I slide off the bed and move to get dressed. A maid arrives to call me to breakfast and then leads me to the dining hall. Breakfast is livelier today on account of Lance, who sits beside Emmeline, listening to everything the royal family is discussing with a broad smile on his face. Even though the king and Claude are both absent from the table, Lance talks enough for the both of them. In fact, ever since he arrived, Lance has somehow managed to put himself in the spotlight for every family meal. He doesn't start conversations on his own, but he's always quick to respond, and usually with a smile. He seems inherently interested in everything that he hears. It's amazing to me that he manages to be so animated and attentive so early in the morning. My thoughts are preoccupied during breakfast, hovering somewhere between Claude's duties and my own. I listen while I eat, sometimes nodding along with the conversation. I've almost cleared my plate when Lance speaks directly to me, jolting me out of my reverie. Have you ever spoken with the witches in Brigantia, Princess? I look up and blink, trying to piece together what he might have been saying. The witches from Brigantia? Claude tells me that you interact with many witches because of your position as Tenebrarum bearer. He puts a hand on his chest and gives a slight bow. Even sitting down in front of a half-finished breakfast plate, he manages to make the motion look somehow dignified. I must stress that, as always, it's an honor to be in your presence. I can't help but smile at him. Most of the time, being the Tenebrarum bearer is more of an ordeal than a blessing, but I've learned to appreciate the responsibility. Tenebrarum bearer. I keep saying it wrong, but it does not flow off the tongue nicely. It is a fucking difficult word. Okay? It's just... Anyway. Please, Lance, there's no need for that. I shake my head. And no, I don't usually speak with the Brigantian witches. I usually have no reason to, unless there's some kind of upset. But from what I've heard, though, the witches in Brigantia are content. There are still incidents involving witches in Angeal every so often. I know that's not right, but whatever, it's what it is. It's stuck in my head now, we're saying it that way. But thankfully, those incidents have been on the decline the last year. It does seem that way, though I cannot say with absolute certainty because I don't have many witch acquaintances. Lance's eyes brighten. He seems to be lost in memory for a few moments, but then he speaks up. Many of the witches I do know have visited the castle to perform extraordinary magical feats. Mother has a few witch acquaintances that help her decorate her midnight parties with enchanted objects. Midnight parties? Emmeline looks at Lance in wonder. Mother's a bit of a night owl, so she throws many parties at night. She refers to her weekly evening celebrations as midnight balls. That sounds lovely. They are quite lovely, if not a bit overwhelming at times. But I suppose that's to be expected. Brigantia is known for its animated nightlife. It's sleepy when the sun is up, still up, and lively when the moon rises. The balls are a particularly special nighttime celebration with renowned performers. One year when Claude and I were still young, my mother invited a witch whose specialty was magical gardening. Magical gardening? The witch conjured an entire field of colored roses. That's... Lance laughs. Suffice to say, it left quite the impression. I think we learned to appreciate roses a lot more after we were gifted an entire field of them. I wonder if such showcases are part of the reason Claude loves roses so much. I think of the rose locket and smile. What sort of magic do you specialize in, Princess Spacey? I look up at Lance, momentarily perplexed. Delora taught me shields and ice first, so I'm probably most comfortable with those spells, but I don't consider them my specialty. Spacey's very good with ice. She made a sculpture of Claude once for his birthday. Emmeline... Lance stares at me with clear impress. You made a sculpture out of ice? That's amazing. Claude thought it was amazing too, even if I could never get his features right. He teased me about it for a long time afterward, but he was definitely distressed when I set the sculpture outside in the sun so that it would melt. What are you gonna do? Keep it around forever? He's like, you want to see it? It's in the freezer. There's a broom here that she animated to clean all on its own, too. No, Mr. Broom is entirely Delora and Parfait's fault. Oh my god, I forgot about the broom! Tormented us. Mr. Broom! Oh my god. Oh god. I didn't want to bring it here at first, but in the end agreed to it because the thing wouldn't leave me alone when I visited the tavern. I brought it here and tweaked the enchantment on it so that it could sweep on its own. Now at least Delora can't renew the enchantment on it just to tease me. Rod looks up from his plate, eyebrows raised. A little more than a year ago, Spacey created a light show in the dining hall. There was electricity bouncing everywhere. That lightning spell was a difficult beginner spell. Lance laughs, looking delighted. So you're a master of all trades. I wouldn't expect anything less from the Tenebrarum bearer. It's a shame you can't come to Brigantia for a long enough time to meet the witches there. They speak of you fondly, even if they cannot see you often. They do? Most certainly. That's surprising. But perhaps I'm making progress with everyone. Perhaps I'm making more progress with everyone than I first thought. I think about what Lance said about my inability to visit Brigantia. Unfortunately, I can't leave Angeal for extended periods of time when I am the Tenebrarum bearer. Tenebrarum. I don't know why I put an extra N in there, but I can't. I have to remain in the kingdom because I'm tied to the crystal, but my thoughts shift to Claude. He's gone to visit Brigantia a number of times without me, but I know that he's sad I can't join him. Because of my own position as Tenebrarum bearer, I can never go to Brigantia and become a princess there. That's the reason my wedding engagement with Claude will make him a crown prince of Angio. Angio? Whatever. Look, I say everything wrong, but like, these names are hard. It's also the reason Claude was forced to step down as the crown prince of Brigantia and hand the title over to his brother. Lance breaks through my thoughts with a question. Might I be so bold as to ask for a demonstration? I'd be happy to tell you more about Claude if you'd show me some of your magic. Ophelia, who'd been quietly listening in on our conversation, suddenly stands from the table with a smile. I'll leave you all to it then, but please, no electric mishaps. I'm more than capable of controlling my electricity. Ophelia just smiles at my embarrassment before excusing herself from the table. Absolutely understandably embarrassed at this moment. Get that. A magical demonstration. I'm still considering what spell to cast when the doors to the dining hall swing open and Claude walks inside. He looks somehow downtrodden, his expression broody. Karma, you came just in time for the princess's magic demonstration. Claude turns and looks at me quizzically, his expression softening. And then I've arrived at the perfect time. He keeps walking until he's standing behind my chair. I'm relieved to see his initial stress completely disappeared from his face. I turn my gaze to the rest of the table. Everyone's looking at me expectantly. A spell. Should I do something that I'm comfortable with or something new? We attempt to create a rose. Oh, because we love Karma so much. An ice spell would be safe, but perhaps I can cheer Claude up with something new. That's so sweet of us. I made a lot of things before, but never a rose. Still, it can't be that difficult, surely? I hold out my hands, cupping them in front of me to create a small platform. I squint down at the palm of my hands, concentrating the magic in my body into my fingers. The magic beneath my skin is a subtle thing, but 2 years of practice has made it easier to grip and shape it into something. I close my eyes briefly, imagining the shape of a rose. We could have made an ice rose. I'm just saying. The first thing that comes to mind is the rose locket on Claude's chest. I attempt to draw the shape out into reality. If I can shape ice, this is nothing. Oh! I open my eyes and stare down at the object in my hands. It is indeed a rose, but much to my disgruntlement, it's flat. Extremely flat. Its shape resembles the flat metallic shape of Claude's rose locket, only it's awkwardly balanced on a vibrant green stem. A single wiry leaf juts out from the stem. I sigh as the rose caves in on itself. This is not impressive at all. I'll try again. But... Spacey, wait. Claude takes a step forward and then reaches past my shoulders. He touches his fingers to the petals of the delicate rose. Much to my relief, they don't fall. I think it's beautiful. I agree with Emmeline. Claude smiles as he plucks the rose from my fingers. He holds the strange flattened flower up to his nose and smells it. It also smells far better than a normal rose. I'm inclined to agree, as a rose made out of magic is more special than a rose plucked from a rose bush. It's lovely, Spacey. But it's so flat. It looks like it might fall off the stem at any moment. I shake my head slightly and attempt to snatch it away from Claude. He only holds it out of my reach with a mischievous smile. Fine, you can keep it then. Claude smiles. He holds the rose carefully in one hand, then leans down to kiss my cheek. I most certainly will. He keeps the rose clutched gently between his fingers as Lance turns to me. And that was amazing, Spacey. Your magic is beautiful. Stop hitting on me. And fierce. Sometimes too much so. I scoff. You make it sound like my magic is aggressive when it's not. I barely have any reason to use magic in the first place. Most of the time I only use it for convenience. And then sometimes I use it to make gifts for Claude, just to upstage him. Lance thanks me again for the demonstration before excusing himself. He and Emmeline rush off for extremely important plans. Rod heaves out a great sigh before eventually following after them. I hope they're not trying too hard for my birthday celebration tomorrow. I remain with Claude while he eats a late breakfast and then head out with him when he's done. I know that our time together won't last long. Claude has to take off to another lesson, and I have a meeting with my father. It's another discussion about the implementation of new laws in Angeal. Before the two of us go our own separate ways, Claude turns to me with the rose still in his fingers. I'm going to return this to the room first. I'm sure that when you see it later tonight, it'll have caved in on itself. You have no faith in me, Spacey. It's more that I have no faith in the rose. Claude flicks my forehead, bringing me back to reality. Next time you do that, I'll freeze your pretty eyelashes. Claude bats his eyelashes at me and chuckles. Yeah, bat those beautiful eyes at me. I wouldn't mind. It would be a nice change in aesthetic, I think. I thought I clicked, but I guess I didn't. He planted a quick kiss on my forehead. Until we next reconvene, love. After a quick exchange of farewells, we separate and go our own ways. The day turns out to be busier than I had anticipated. Except for a short hour break in between, I barely see Claude. He manages to give me his gift for the day in between our responsibilities. It's a feat for the eyes, a simple yet elegant blue dress decorated with lilies. Aww. Claude's good at selecting dresses, given his prior experiences with them. Wearing them? The king always seems surprised when I tell him that Claude helps me compile my wardrobe. You're like, I didn't tell you about the time that Claude used to be a girl, right? Like, I know I'll have to wear this dress sometime soon as well. This thought hangs on my mind as I continue about my business. The rest of the day passes in a blur. Even the evening moves quickly. I have enough time to sit down to dinner with my family before I have a meeting with the witch from town. By the time I'm finally able to head back to my room, it's 9:10. My body feels incredibly heavy, and all I want to do is crash onto my bed. I've just turned the bend in the corner when I hear soft music coming through the halls. I stop to listen. Claude must be playing the piano. Strange. He usually doesn't play if I'm not there to play or watch with him. Play with or watch him. I walk the rest of the way to my bedroom, then push open the door quietly so as not to disturb Claude. Aww, look, do we get a CG every chapter? Nice. The music wafts out from the room like a gentle breeze. The minute I step inside, I see Claude at the piano, fingers gliding across the keys to create the beautiful sounds emanating from the instrument. He's so immersed in his music that he doesn't notice when I step inside and shut the door behind me. He looks solemn, yet at peace, his eyebrows drawn in concentration as he focuses on the keys. Even as I watch, the rigidness of his expression begins to crumble away into a gentle smile. This song, it's beautiful. Will I break his concentration if I move to sit beside him? Join him at the piano. It'll be fine. Claude knows how to focus. I make my way over to where he's sitting at the piano and quietly slide onto the bench beside him. The song doesn't stop, even when Claude inclines his head toward me slightly. The gentle smile never falters. In fact, his eyes seem to gleam even more when he notices I sit beside him. Well, well, this is a most unusual surprise. I was wondering when you'd be back. I set one of my hands down on his knee and lean my head onto his shoulder. It's been a long day. I'm sorry I couldn't lighten your workload, darling. You deserved a more lax day today. You deserve to be spoiled. His playing at the piano ceases as he puts his hand on top of mine. Claude, you spoil me every day. Sometimes too much. It's fine. I furrow my eyebrows slightly, realizing that my presence has probably put a damper on his playing. I interrupted your playing, didn't I? I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing, darling? You know what I always say. Claude smiles at me mischievously. I always notice the most pertinent things, and you are far more important than any piano piece. He laces his fingers through mine before leaning forward to press a gentle kiss to my lips. The feeling of his lips on mine causes my earlier stress to melt away completely. Everything around us fades to a gentle blur when I kiss him back. For some time, it feels like the world has stopped around us, and then there's just the two of us. At times like this, it feels like we have all the time in the world for each other. I'm the first to pull away. I poke Claude in the chest and smile as I slide off the bench. What song were you playing? I wonder. Is it really necessary to keep it a secret? The song wasn't meant to be a surprise for tomorrow, was it? Claude just looks at me with his lips curved into a cat-like smile. I'm going to assume that's a yes. I move to sit down on the edge of my bed. If you're in here playing, I am assuming that you're done for the day. Claude lets out a sigh as he leans dramatically back on the piano, one arm draped across its surface, the other one resting on his forehead. I'm afraid the night has yet more excitement for me. Is it a meeting with Father? Or assignments from your history tutor? Claude scoffs at me. I'll have you know I'm on top of all of my assignments. I'm just as excellent a pupil as I am an instructor. Your ego knows no bounds. It's confidence, love. Confidence. Claude sighs as he stands up and stretches. Afterwards, he turns to look at me. I'm afraid I have certain plans for tomorrow that I must check on. Plans for the birthday party? You really don't need to work so hard for me, Claude. Much to my surprise, Claude's smile slips, his expression fading into something more somber. I'll always work hard for you, Spacey. I would do anything for you, and that will never change, even if I can't be... He stops suddenly, his lips sealed. You can't be what? Claude looks at me, startled for a few moments. He steps back toward the door, then, abruptly, he begins to laugh. Oh, like, what the hell? What drama are you putting in my game? Never mind me. A tired man says a lot of peculiar things. When he smiles, the look is once again melancholy. It's a sad smile. Claude, are you okay? Yes, Spacey. I'm just a little tired. Don't look at me like that. I'll be fine come tomorrow morning. Claude? He stops in front of the door, hand on the knob. Yes, darling. You remember that we promised there would be no secrets between us, right? I would never forget a promise I made with you, Spacey. He says the words with enough conviction that I can't help but be relieved. And this is just passing stress, I promise. I nod my head, relenting. And now I regret to say it, but I'll be a little late tonight, so you don't need to wait up for me. He blows me a kiss. I love you, Spacey. Good night. Good night, Claude. He steps out through the door and closes it behind him. Once he's gone, I fall back onto my bed, my eyelids fluttering closed. My body welcomes the softness of the sheets and the comfort of my pillows. I wonder if there's some way to figure out why Claude looks so sad. Someone that could tell me how to help him when he's like this. The question whirls around in my mind for a while, but it's not long before the desire to sleep overwhelms my worry. Not long after I close my eyes, I find myself drifting away into slumber. When I next wake, my bedroom is dark and quiet. The first thing I'm aware of is my heart, which is beating painfully against my chest. Another nightmare. I put my hand on my forehead as I glance around my room. I notice that Claude's lying beside me, undisturbed. The gentle rise and fall of his chest, along with his soft breathing, tells me that he's asleep. I find the clock in my room and stifle a sigh. It's just past midnight. I have no idea how long Claude has been asleep, and I don't want to wake him. Sometimes, when the nightmares are terrible, I end up waking Claude to discuss them with him. Other times, when I'm sure he needs the rest, I do my best to forget the nightmares on my own. Just snuggle up against him, it'll make you feel better. I could use some fresh air. I quietly slide out of the bed and make my way toward the door. I glance over my shoulder at Claude one last time before quietly stepping outside and shutting the door behind me. The palace corridors are quiet at night, save for the muted footsteps of the patrolling knights. At first, I'm at a loss for what to do with myself. I could sit in the garden, or I could walk through the hallways until the voices fade. My legs begin to move on their own. Every step sends me down the hallway and closer to a branching corridor. I'm not entirely sure where I'm heading, but I tell all of the knights I meet on my way that I'm only wandering for some peace of mind. I've just moved into the conjoined corridor when I see a familiar face. Princess? Jurian stops in front of me, her eyebrows drawn together in a clearly anxious expression. Good evening, Jurian. Good evening, Your Highness. Couldn't sleep? It's been a restless night. Are you still working? For a little while longer, yes. And what about you? Just taking a midnight stroll? I've bumped into Jurian quite a few times on these aimless night strolls, and she always worries. I was. There's no cause for concern. You say that, Princess, but any royal's actions are a concern to us knights. And now I have to keep my eye out for both you and the prince. The prince? Rod's also up? Oh, no, Prince Lance of Brigantia. He was out here earlier murmuring to himself. That is a little strange. I saw him head into the dining hall last. I sent a few knights over that way just in case. Perhaps he just left his room for a midnight snack? Claude used to be up at midnight all the time when he first came here. Sounds like typical Brigantian lifestyle. Anyway, if you need anything from me, I'll be on patrol for a little while longer. Don't hesitate to call me Princess. I'll not. Thank you, Jurian. Jurian turns to walk away, but then pauses to glance over her shoulder. Oh, and Princess? I hope we all get to practice together again soon. I thought you were going to say happy birthday because I'm pretty sure it's my birthday. Rude. Yes, I hope so too. It's been a long time since all four of us have been able to participate in mock battles. Jurian flashes me a small smile before she strides away from me to continue her patrol. If Lance is up right now, perhaps I should go to see him. Without another thought, I begin to make my way to the dining hall. Sure enough, the first thing I notice when I step into the dining hall is Lance, who's sitting at the head of the dining table, his hands clasped as if in prayer. He's murmuring something beneath his breath. Lance? Lance glances up at me, bewildered. His shock almost makes me feel guilty. You didn't hear the giant door? Did I interrupt something? No, not at all. He lets out a deep sigh, his shoulders sagging slightly. A weight seems to fall off them as he does so, and when he looks up, he once again exudes its usual cheer. Like him and his brother! Damn it, you sad sacks! Just tell people it's wrong! I was wandering around the palace when I noticed the dining hall was empty. I wanted to sit down for a few moments to practice a speech, but... He looks down at the table. The downcast expression takes me by surprise as it's very uncharacteristic of the usually very charismatic Lance. Sometimes I get so caught up in memorizing that I forget about everything around me. I'm sorry. There's no need to apologize, but you were practicing a speech? For whom? It's fine. You don't need to speak about it if you don't want to. I'm about to head out again when Lance calls my name, making me stop. Have you ever given a direct speech to the people, Princess? Before I used to shun people. I dislike going anywhere near them. Since breaking my curse, however, I've learned to open up to the townsfolk. The king has me address them directly on our monthly rides out to town. Of course. I see. If you're asking me that question, I'm assuming it's because you're practicing a speech for a big audience? Lance smiles, a little half-heartedly. I was. The moment Claude became engaged to you, I became next in line for the Brigantian throne. Father's been waiting for me to give a speech officially announcing myself as Brigantia's crown prince. The moment Claude asked for my hand in marriage, he had to relinquish his position as the crown prince of Brigantia. It never occurred to me that Lance would have to take over something he was unprepared for. And how is the speech going? Lance sighs. Terribly. I die a slow death in front of large crowds. Claude has always been better at speeches than I have. I prefer speaking to people one-on-one. Large crowds are terrifying. He has stage fright? Girl, I feel that. No doubt you both have your own strengths. Talking to so many people at once requires practice. Right. Lance still looks disheartened. The look on his face is so similar to Claude's that I can't help the small stab in my heart. You said Claude's better at spotlights, right? Then he should be able to help you. The two of you are brothers. He knows you better than anyone else. Even though Claude gets jealous of Lance frequently, the two of them are still brothers. I know Claude loves him. And Claude's overwhelming Confidence allows him to speak to crowds with ease. Most people find him very charismatic. Hasn't Claude been really busy recently? I wouldn't want to take away any of the free time he has with you. Lance. Lance has a forlorn look in his eyes. He stares past me at the door, his eyebrows furrowed. Llama? He flushes a crimson red that has me smiling despite myself. He and Claude are similar in the strangest ways. You may as well ask Claude. I wouldn't mind sitting in during your practices if time with me was ever a problem. Besides, I already get ample time with Claude, despite what he might say. Most of the time, he's just needlessly dramatic. Though I do have to agree that we both have been pressed for time this week. Hopefully things will settle down after tomorrow's celebration. Okay, so not today. But it's like, it's been 6 days and the week leading up to my birthday, and now it's the day before, but this is also like, time is not working in this game. Maybe I can't do math, but a week is only 7 days. So like, we had gotten the lilies, then we got this, like, the plushies, and then it was 6 days later, and now it's midnight, but the celebration is not later today, it's tomorrow. That's 10 days. 9 if tomorrow, when she's saying this is technically like, really it's today, but it's after I actually wake up at a normal time instead of actually at midnight. So, but still, that's normal, that's longer than a normal week, so. Anyway, I just feel like somebody doesn't have to count. I'll try asking him then. Though, say it more decisively, you will ask him. Lance laughs a little sheepishly. Then he clears his throat and speaks in a voice filled with conviction. I promise that I'll ask him. Good. Oh. Lance looks at me wide-eyed. What is it? It's past midnight, isn't it? I had almost forgotten. Forgotten? To wish you a happy birthday. See, okay, so it is today. It's my birthday. But still, it's 9 days. It's still the math. The smile Lance gives me is so shiny, it almost sparkles. Almost? I was like, what? There you go. A very blessed happy birthday to you, Spacey. May both your nights and your days be filled with endless cheer and good company. Thank you, Lance. If Claude knew Lance was the first to wish me a happy birthday, he would cry. The thought makes me smirk. My conversation with Lance is cut short after that, when at one point, instead of responding to him with words, I respond with an unintended yawn. I excuse myself for that night, relieved that my conversation with Lance has helped clear the nightmares from my mind. I'm sure that Lance will be able to solve his problems with help. As for my problems, I push the thought of Claude's melancholy smile from my mind. For now, it's better not to think about it. Claude will want me to enjoy my birthday celebration without worrying about him. So for now, I'll set aside these worries. I walk back to my room feeling a lot lighter than I had when I first left it. Oh, well, look at that. Lilies and roses. The hallway's lively in the late morning, but I barely pay attention to the servants I pass as I make my way through it. A few of the servants notice my hurried pace and stare after me, no doubt curious as to why I'm rushing down the halls. I ignore them. What reason could Parfait have for summoning me so late? I was awoken this morning by a knock heralding a letter delivery. It was marked as urgent and had been sent by Parfait earlier today. Parfait prefaced it with an apology, then explained that she and Delora had something they needed to discuss with me. Apparently it cannot wait. Happy birthday! We just wanted to say that, bitch. You could have come to my house. Everyone planned for a late breakfast today so I could sleep in, too. Claude was already gone when I woke. I was expecting as much considering today is my birthday, and he's been the one heading the plans for it. I've already told my family that I'll be missing breakfast on account of Parfait's letter, but I've yet to see Claude. I turned the corner in a rush and only barely managed to stop myself from colliding with someone coming down the other side of the hall. Spacey! I step back from Claude as he stares at me, looking flustered as if he too had been running. I heard you were leaving for the palace for some personal business. Parfait sent me an abrupt letter this morning saying that she had something to discuss with me. Claude looks clearly disgruntled by this news. On your birthday? Oh. He suddenly falls to his knees and clasps my hand in his. I'm startled when he presses his lips to the back of it and smiles. like, on your birthday? Oh, right, I forgot to say happy birthday to you. Jesus Christ, Claude, what the fuck? Like, a very happy birthday to you, my beautiful Spacey. My love, my sunshine, my beautiful betrothed. The greeting is so familiar I can't help but blush. Claude cocks an eyebrow at me as he stands. He leans forward and plants a quick kiss on my lips. All right, now that I've done what was necessary. He looks at me, again disgruntled. They're really doing this on your birthday? Apparently so. Claude grunts a response before shrugging his shoulders. If that's the case... He takes a step toward me. Would you allow me to accompany you? I had something special planned for breakfast, but if you can't be there, I'd at least rather be by your side. I can leave early to make sure that things here are taken care of. Is he rushing to catch up to me for that reason? How cute. I thought he was rushing to catch up to me to like, no, I had to say something before you left. But if he tags along, won't he be even more pressed for time? But we're going to allow him to tag along. He is the one that insists on tagging along, and I always appreciate Claude's company. Perfect! I'll meet you at the palace gates in a few minutes then. I just need to tell everyone that I plan on being out for a short time. He ducks and plants a kiss on my cheek before rushing off, leaving me to once again walk down the corridors on my own. I don't have to wait long for Claude to appear at the gates. Sorry to keep you waiting, Spacey. He glances around the clearing. No carriage? I asked, but they've yet to prepare one. Perhaps we should just walk to the Marchen. I stifle a sigh. Relax, darling. Parfait and Delora have already waited this long. I'm sure they can afford you some time to breathe and some fresh air. He holds out his arm to me with a flourish, a smile on his face. Shall we? I loop my arm through his with resigned smile. We shall. The town is lively today, but still not crowded as it is in the afternoon. Not as crowded as it is in the afternoon, sorry. I really do feel bad that everyone went out of the way to eat breakfast so late on my account. I tell them it was for some important meeting with Parfait, but still. What could be so urgent she had to call me out here now? The walk through town is mostly uneventful. I'm relieved that no one goes out of their way to speak a birthday greeting to me. When Emmeline mentioned Claude wanting the townsfolk to celebrate with me, I was half worried that they'd rush me when I came out of the palace. Yet the town is as it always is, which is a great relief. I greet people respectfully when they call out to me, but otherwise keep to myself. We're close to the Marchen when I stop, hearing a conversation that piques my curiosity. I do wonder whatever happened to her. She was just here one day and gone the next.
Beautiful, mysterious women tend to do that, I suppose.
She was mysterious, wasn't she? It's been years since she was seen. Maybe she really was just a fairy passing by.
Or perhaps a witch. Her beauty was mesmerizing enough that she seemed more than just a human.
Are they talking about karma? They fucking are! I was like, are they talking about, like, when we were, I'm like, they would have reckoned, no, but because, like, they forgot who we were, right? But then it was like, she was mysterious, and I was like, oh god, they're talking about fucking karma when he was in drag, basically. She had a rather mysterious name, too, didn't she? Miss Karma. Miss Karma? I cannot believe people are still talking about his disguise from 2 years ago. I feel like the look on his sprite is like, I am beautiful. Oh, God. I can't help but glimpse at Claude, who's grinning at me mischievously. See, he's not even embarrassed, but he's not like, oh, God, he's like, I'm fucking so great, they don't even know. Karma's fabulous drag personality. I love him so much. Oh, my God. Perhaps one day the enigmatic Miss Karma will appear in town again. Is she a fairy or a witch? None may ever know. It is indisputable, however, that she is the second most beautiful lady in the realm. Fucking love him so much! Second most beautiful? It's not like you to be so humble. Claude looks at me pointedly. Well, she certainly isn't as lovely as another fair maiden that I know. I love the fact that he's like, I'm second most beautiful to you when I put on drag. I mean, I appreciate you think that I'm more beautiful than you, but like, no. You are the most beautiful lady in the land. Claude's only response is a wink. Oh my god, this is so great. You know what, Look, I did love him in the first game. I know that, but I swear to God, I think this just cements why he's one of my favorites, because, like, all of the characters are pretty good, right? But, like, I love me a man in drag, and, like, Claude looks fabulous in drag. And, like, and the whole Karma Chameleon thing. Like, you can't just not, like, it's just, I'm sorry, that just, it ticks a box I didn't even know I had, right? Anyway, the man in drag, I knew I had that box. I just did not know that Culture Club references were a box I needed ticked, but here you go. Free bonus, I guess? I continue to walk, my eyes now on the Marchen. I wonder how the townsfolk would feel if they realized that Miss Karma somehow became the crown prince of Angeal. Cheated feels like it would be putting it mildly. When I finally arrive at the Marchen doorstop, relishing the nostalgia that comes over me, I do most of my magic practices at the... Oh. I stop, relishing the nostalgia that comes over me. Period. Learn to read. I do most of my magic practices at the palace and forest now, which means that I barely have a reason to come to the Marchen. 2 years ago, this place was lively, always crowded with patrons who were seeking to break their curses. Ever since I became the Tenebrarum bearer and dispelled those curses on my own, the place has become significantly less busy. I say tenon, but it's tenna. I can't, I'm sorry. Somebody's probably tweaking, but I cannot fucking read that. Now it's stuck in my head, and that's just the way it is now, forever in my brain. Now it's just a normal tavern, though I hear many of the previously cursed still come here. I put my hand to the door and pause. It feels as if the Marchen is holding its breath. I should make this quick. It's almost noon, and I can't miss lunch as well. I turn the doorknob and step inside. I'm expecting quiet and serenity, but the moment I step foot through the front door, there's a loud outburst of sound from every direction of the room. Happy birthday, Princess Spacey! The words are only the primary greeting. After them comes a shower of petals that fall from the ceiling. I realize as they fall to my feet that they're white. Lily, petals? I stare at the sight before me with wide eyes. The Marchen is mostly unchanged, except for a few flourishes here and there. Lilies line some of the shelves, and I can see through the doorway that the tables in the tavern are decorated. Finally, I noticed a group of people gathered by the door. All our friends? I live for moments like this, where I can see our ever-so-stoic princess stunned into silence.
One would hope that she'd find a surprise party surprising.
I came here for urgent business. The words leave my mouth before I can even think them. My cheeks are warm and my head is spinning. I cross my arms, my face still flushed with embarrassment. I turn to glance behind me and see Claude looking at me. He's smiling at me smugly as if in triumph, so it's going to be really bad in the good ending where we like, no, you stay here, but... You knew about this all along!
But of course, I did help plan it after all.
So what he said at the palace was a well-crafted lie?
You forget that I'm very good at keeping secrets.
I step into the room, the surprise finally sinking in. I look around and see familiar faces I haven't seen in a while. Even more surprising, my family and Lance are among them. I was wondering, like, when we're going, and like, we had to rush out. We couldn't even say that we're going for breakfast. And I'm like, maybe our family isn't having breakfast and they're at the tavern too. I was wondering. Because, like, we're like, oh, they're planning a surprise party. And we're like, they're planning a surprise party. And we knew it. But this would have been the perfect place for a surprise party we weren't expecting. I saw them all before I left the palace. How did they get here? When I ask for explanations, I'm told that the royal family was transported to the Marchen by Waltz, who used a transportation spell. God, I gotta figure out voices for all the other characters. We're not in their routes. I don't know. Everyone else had been gathered in the Marchen before that, making arrangements and setting up the impressive array of food I can see in the tavern area. Although the venue is smaller, it is more comfortable. This is so much nicer than a grand party at the palace. No formalities are required. I much prefer the nostalgia of the Marchen to the stiff royals. I'm led as the guest of honor into the tavern area. There is, sure enough, a banquet set on all of the tables. Some of my favorite foods are on the menu, and it's impossible to miss the drinking fountain. Is that... Okay, I don't really remember. I feel like I remember anise, but I don't remember the Sprite. But I feel like the name is familiar, but anyway.
A drinking fountain filled with a special birthday juice, Princess.
Shh, they're all gonna have the same, I don't know. There are fancy goblets laid out just beside the fountain, already filled with the concoction. The goblets on their own are not telling, but I recognize the chameleon topper. So this is the juice that Emmeline was tasting in the dining hall. Emmeline moves to stand in front of the drinking fountain, a bright smile on her face. I notice Lance standing with her. More likely than not, he's been assisting her with this since he arrived. Emmeline gestures to the goblets and the drinking fountain behind them.
I present to you Spacey's special drink, the chameleon.
There's a round of applause, followed by a very confused muttering. Dolores snorts. And here I thought this was a celebration for the princess. Emmeline! Claude's like, I am a princess too.
Spacey insisted we call it that.
Claude looks at me mournfully. Did you really expect me to call it anything else with such a topper on it? But Spacey, I have no problems with the name. It was your idea after all. I'm amazed. I didn't even know you could blush, Karma. It's a trick of the lighting, nothing more. Everyone scatters in different directions at that point. Some make their way immediately to the food tables, while others begin to engage in conversation. It's a small get-together, but the people here are all comfortable enough with each other that it's easy for them to converse. Somehow, even despite the fact that the royal family should look out of place, they don't. Maybe it's the fact that they've already met everyone at the tavern before at the palace. Even Lance seems at ease. I'm just about to make my way over to the large food display when a familiar voice stops me in my tracks. I love that his glasses sparkled! That was an amazing trick, just in, like, the fucking glasses light going across on the oh my god, okay, I'm sorry. That is priceless. Just the fucking glittering is fucking priceless. It's the best part of this game. Next to the Karma Chameleon thing, you know? It's the little weird shit that just gets me the most excited. Can I just be honest? Anyway. See, he's gonna have the same Lupin treatment, sorta, that Karma has, but he's gotta be way more dramatic, so I gotta work this. Hold on, it's gonna take me a little to get into it. Anyway. It's been too long, Princess. I miss seeing your radiant scowl. Every time I think he's changed, this happens. I fucking love him, though. Chevalier laughs when I frown at him. And there it is! I'd much rather see you smile, though. It is your birthday, after all. 2 years ago, when I lifted Chevalier's curse, he remembered that he was a doctor. He became more serious after that and went back to his work with a commitment that surprised everyone. I hear that because his clinic is close, he visits the Marchen often. Like, he's a doctor, but he's dramatic. How have you been? I've been well, Princess. I have to thank you for your recommendation a month ago. My recommendation? Your recommendation you recommended my clinic to a renowned nobleman. Lord Decimond, was it? One recommendation led to another, and now I have an influx of patients. I found out not long ago that Chevalier frequently refused gold from people out of his own selflessness. Because I couldn't convince him to take the gold, I recommended a nobleman to his clinic instead. Now he has no reason to refuse payment. It's my pleasure, but please make sure to keep some of the gold for yourself. I hope you won't put Spacey's efforts to waste with your selflessness again. Claude suddenly stands beside me with a scowl on his face. If you two could not stand next to each other and talk, because you have similar voices, and Waltz and Fritz are going to have to not... Look, there's just a divide here. Rod can stand in the middle, and the other ones have to go teams on either side. It's not going to work. A pleasure to see you too, Your Highness. Both men frown at each other. For some reason, they're still curt with each other. But do they really need to act like children? They're basically the same character. They're both flirties. Oh, Spacey. Lance suddenly appears at Chevalier's other side with a bright smile. See, like, nobody has, like, the cute, nice voice like that. Nobody has the face that goes with that voice. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't have that many voices in my repertoire, okay? I mean, I could give someone a terrible fucking Irish accent, but... Again, none of them fit the terrible Irish accent, but I came to ask. Oh. He looks at Chevalier, who's staring between him and Claude with wide eyes. There's two of you? Lance laughs. They don't look that much alike. They do look similar, but not that much. I would be Claude's younger brother, yes. I'm Prince Lance of Brigantia. It's an honor to meet you. An honor? You're the renowned Angeal doctor, Chevalier Dumont, yes? Your reputation precedes you. Chevalier eyes Lance skeptically. I really just want to keep calling him Rumple, because Chevalier just seems so, like... You know me. I can't, like, they sound too much the same. I'm sorry, but look, the first time we played this, everyone sounded the fucking same except for Parfait. Okay, she was the only one that had her own voice. Everybody else literally sounds the same. How do you deal with listening to me anyway? And more importantly, you're being nice to me. His eyes flicker between Claude and Lance. Lance looks at him perplexed. He looks a little at a loss. Claude, on the other hand, is staring between the two of them, unimpressed. Maybe I should say something. So we remain silent, but for the good ending, you either assist Lance or praise Chevalier. I feel like we're going to have to, like, rewind and see the other choice, but I want to make sure we praise Chevalier, because I just feel like that'd just be hilarious. That's going to be something, it's going to be comedic gold, probably. I can't help but recall my previous conversation with Lance. He told me that he's more comfortable speaking with people one-on-one, and yet he seems at a loss for words here. He needs to learn how to get out of these situations on his own. This will be good practice for him. Chevalier is still squinting at Lance suspiciously. The silence persists for a few more moments before Claude breaks it. He lets out a deep sigh and steps between the two of them. You call me judgmental, and yet you're already assuming things about my brother. How very hypocritical of you. Lance is... Claude shrugs. A Lance is not me. No, Lance is definitely easier to get along with than Claude. Poor Claude. Darling, you wound me. Both Lance and Chevalier laugh at that. Claude scowls a little as he turns away and takes my hand. In the moment that Claude looks away, I notice Lance flash a grateful smile at him. So Claude can actually be brotherly when he tries. Chevalier and Lance seem to become a bit more comfortable with each other after the interruption. Claude pulls me away while they continue conversing. Well, at least someone gets along with that man. Everyone except you. Claude shrugs. Some things do not change. We part ways after that, Claude going to speak with my family while I make my way toward the Marchand borders. Waltz. Princess. Waltz strides past the conversing Lance and Chevalier to greet me. Aww. Isn't it? If it isn't Angeal's favorite magician. Favorite's a bit of an overstatement, but thank you. How have your lessons been going? I assume they've been a success, as you haven't made my last 3 lessons with Delora. Yeah, okay. I was actually going to apologize for that. There's no need. There are young witches who require your counsel a lot more than me. Shortly after Waltz's curse was dispelled, he made good on his deal to help teach me magic. I used to see him more often before he decided that he was going to become a magic tutor for young witches. Waltz is very good with children. He used to be one! He was like, I've been cursed! I'm a 30-year-old man! Like a 20-year-old man in a 10-year-old body! It's fucking annoying! Poor Waltz. How have your tenebrarum responsibilities been? I have to pause and say that word to not say the end in it. Princess? I've been having more nightmares recently, but it's no cause for concern. Walt, stop. I can see you already worrying. It's in my nature to worry about friends, you know? Walt has been helping me remember some of my lost memories now that he's no longer cursed. With his help, I've been able to recall our previous friendship. Today's the day for celebration. You're not allowed to worry about me. But this is an order from your princess. Walt smiles as he puts a hand to his chest and bows. I have no choice but to obey then, I suppose. Our conversation turns to more lighthearted things after that. The jovial hours pass by in a blur, with the exception of Jurian and Garland, who are both back at the palace because of their important night duties. Everyone I know is here. It's a pleasant break to catch up with all of them. After some time, a large cake is brought floating in by Parfait. Yeah, but where's, Varg? I'm sorry. What's his name? Why can't I remember his real name? You know, that's his other personality, but... Right, didn't he have a split personality? Anyway. Fritz, that's what I'm talking about. Where's he? Anyway. Everyone in the room grows quiet as they gape at the massive size of it. The cake is 5 different layers and, without magic, would have required at least 6 people to carry. I was under the impression that this cake would be small. Oh, but it is. Lance gasps aloud as he points at the cake. His usual composure is broken completely when he waves his hand in the air, a wonder-filled smile on his face. A Brigantian top cake! I haven't had one in years! A what? Oh, I've heard about Brigantian top cakes, and they're incredibly difficult to make because of all the different layers, and the largest cakes are said to slant on account of them being so tall. You see, it is small, and this one is nowhere near collapsing in on itself. Claude's filled with pride when he tells me that he commissioned some of the best bakers in Angeal to undertake the task of making the cake. While the actual decorating was done by professional bakers, the more complex details were apparently crafted by witches. Delora herself has made the trick candles on the top, which refuse to blow out no matter how many times I huff at them. I end up turning the fire to ice to get them to stop burning. This is a lovely moment before, like, all hell's gonna break loose, right? I don't know. By the time everyone's done with their cake, the daylight's been replaced with swaths of gentle moonlight. The festivities are just about wrapped up for the night when Claude approaches me, insisting that we return to the palace so he can give me his last gift. Well, what's your last gift, Claude? Probably not what I'm thinking. At first, I assume all of us are simply going to be teleported to the palace, but my family insists that I go on ahead of them. Father has something he wishes to discuss with Delora and Parfait, and Ophelia is in a surprisingly animated conversation with Anise, who's discussing some complicated recipe with her. I decide to head back to the palace early with Claude after saying my goodbyes to everyone. Wasn't Anise the one that, like, she broke a doll by accident or something of ours and we fired her? We were like, get out! And, like, we were a bitch to her. Wait, in the first game, right? Was she the one? Anyway. I expect my stroll through town to be leisurely, but I'm surprised to see bright lights and decorations when we come into the plaza area. Specially crafted lanterns hang from the shingles of the rooftops, and the town floor is littered with both white and red flower petals. Everywhere I look, there are stalls decorated with lilies and roses. Like, God, this is an extravagant birthday. What is all this? A celebration, obviously. The plaza is the heart of grand festivities. The stalls are filled with games, music, and food. Everything is either lily or rose themed, and everywhere I look I see smiling faces and laughing crowds. Emmeline said that he had wanted some way to celebrate my birthday with the townsfolk, but I was expecting them to distribute a drink, not all of this. There are rose petals too? Only because the rose and lily aesthetic is a good combination, no? It has absolutely nothing to do with stealing your spotlight, I can assure you. No, of course not. I can't stop smiling as I take in the sight of the town. It is beautiful at this time of night, and seeing the townsfolk so immersed in all of the festivities makes me happy. Thank you, Claude. Your smile is thanks enough, love. And we both owed thanks to your family, and the palace servants and those at the Marchen. I'd not have been able to plan all of this without them. Once we're closer to the palace gates and out of view of everyone else, I lean forward to plant a kiss on Claude's cheek. He blushes immediately. The endearing flush on his cheeks makes me laugh. I love you, Claude. I love you too, darling. He puts a hand to the rose locket. With all my heart. I loop my arms through his as we make our way through the gates. I plop down on my bed with a sigh. The night celebrations have gone on so long I'm more exhausted than usual. Sleep feels incredibly alluring, but... I sit up as Claude enters the room with a bright smile. And here I was hoping you'd fallen asleep so I could wake you with a kiss. That will not be necessary. Claude steps forward and holds out a small box to me. It's simply wrapped with a small blue ribbon on top of it. If he'd be like, oh, I was hoping you were asleep so I could, wake you with a kiss. Go back out and come back in. I'll pretend I'm asleep. You want me to pretend? I wonder what it could be. Claude takes a seat beside me as I unfasten the ribbon at the top and pop the box open. After getting through layers of wrapping paper, I find a smaller box inside. Oh my god, we're doing this box in a box thing. I pop the box open carefully and stare at what I see inside. Well, it's not an engagement ring because we already own it. Oh, it's even cuter. I take the pendant and its chain out of the box carefully and trace the petals with my fingers. My eyes immediately go to the rose pendant on Claude's chest. He got you a matching one, but it's a lily. It's so cute. This man's adorable. And now we match. My fingers tighten around the lily pendant. The celebration at the Marchen, and for the townsfolk, the cake and this gift. Despite Claude's flair for the dramatic, he was still able to give me so many things today without sacrificing their genuineness. You like it? No. Claude's expression falls. Then just as quickly, he looks confused when I laugh. I love it. You really do love to tease me, don't you? His sad face is beautiful. I put a hand on his knee and lean forward, still gripping the pendant in my fingers. It's his eyes. I promise to treasure it always. Thank you, Claude. Before he can say anything, I lean forward to kiss him. Our lips meet in a kiss that starts soft, then eases into something deeper. I lean into him, causing him to fall back on the bed. Oh, hi. Oh, you're in one of those moods. Not at all. I just noticed your form was lacking, so I exploited your weakness. I should know better than to let my guard down in front of my best pupil. I lean toward him again, my lips brushing his once again, but a knock startles us both. Bitch! Cock blocked. Yeah, Claude, that's my feelings too. I have to point out, I do love that his aesthetic is red, gold, and green. Like, he's mostly reds and golds, but then the green eyes. I do like the fact that they're like, no, we're going to make this navy blue instead of green to just, rub it in your face too much. They're subtle with it, and I appreciate that. When neither of us says anything, the knock comes again. I know we're over time, but I wanted to see if we could get to chapter 4, Excuse the interruption, Princess Spacey, Prince Claude. The king desires to speak with the prince in the throne room. He says it's about the celebration budget. Celebration budget? Claude rolls out from underneath me with a sheepish laugh. Right. I suppose that is important. He calls back that he'll be at the throne room shortly. The maid leaves, her footsteps echoing out in the hall. What is this about a celebration budget? Well, many of the supplies we set up in the town for your birthday celebration had to be paid for from a fund. Brugantia helped fund some of this too in honor of our marriage, but... He smiles sheepishly. I'm afraid I have yet to explain that part to the king. I stifle a sigh as he smooths down his clothes. I'm about to wave him off when he leans down in front of me once more. He uncurls my fingers from around the lily pendant and holds it up. If you don't mind, darling. He leans back to clasp the necklace at the back of my neck. When he pulls away, the lily pendant hangs from my neck. Small weight reminds me of the glass slipper necklace I used to have in the same place. I'll see you later, Spacey. The two of us say our goodbyes before he rushes from the room, leaving me alone to think on the events of the day. Okay, well, this is more like a good place, I suppose, to stop. I don't think we're going to get to chapter 4 because we still have technically one more choice to make. But I was actually surprised that chapter 2 was only 30 minutes. Well, a little over 30, and then so this probably won't be too long. We'll be able to get to probably the end of chapter 3 and into chapter 4, so. I was just like, wow, if we can get 2 chapters in a part, maybe it's just, but It's just nice when it, ends, and you're like, okay, perfect place to end it in each chapter, but, it's not going to work that way, because we're already 5 minutes over. Not quite, but by the time I'm done, it will be, yeah, so. Anyway, yeah, we'll continue in the next parts, and yeah, there's only 6 chapters, so, I mean, It's not going to be the longest game, but you know me, I ramble, so. At any rate. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.